The Arabian Nights. The Sultan Shahryar had a wife whom he loved more than all the world, and his greatest happiness was to surround her with splendor, and to give her the finest dresses and the most beautiful jewels. It was therefore with the deepest shame and sorrow that he accidentally discovered, after several years, that she had deceived him completely, and her whole behavior turned out to have been so bad that he felt he had to carry out the law of the land and order the Grand Vizier to put her to death. He was so upset that he almost went mad, and he declared that he was quite sure that all women were as wicked as the Queen, if you could only find them, and that the fewer the world contained, the better. So every evening he married a new wife, and had her strangled the following morning in front of the Grand Vizier, whose duty it was to provide these unhappy brides for the Sultan. The poor man fulfilled his task with reluctance, but there was no escape, and every day saw a girl married and a wife dead. This behavior caused the greatest horror in the town, where nothing was heard but cries. In one house was a father weeping for the loss of his daughter, in another perhaps a mother trembling for the fate of her child, and instead of the blessings that had formerly been heaped on the Sultan's head, the air was now full of curses. The Grand Vizier himself was the father of 2 daughters, of whom the elder was called Scheherazade, and the younger Dinarzadeh. Dinarzadeh had no particular gifts to distinguish her from other girls, but her sister was clever and courageous in the highest degree. Her father had given her the best teachers in philosophy, medicine, history, and the fine arts, and besides all this, her beauty excelled that of any girl in the kingdom of Persia. One day, when the Grand Vizier was talking to his eldest daughter, who was his delight and pride, Scheherazade said to him, "Father, I have a favor to ask of you. Will you grant it to me?"
"I can refuse you nothing,"
he replied.
"That is just and reasonable."
"Then listen," said Scheherazade. "I am determined to stop this barbarous practice of the Sultan's, and to save the girls and mothers from the awful fate that hangs over them."
"It would be an excellent thing to do,"
replied the Grand Vizier.
"but how do you propose to accomplish it?"
"My father," answered Scheherazade, "it is you who have to provide the Sultan daily with a fresh wife, and I beg you to allow the honor to fall upon me."
"Have you lost your senses?"
cried the Grand Vizier, starting back in horror.
"What has put such a thing into your head? You ought to know by this time what it means to be the Sultan's bride."
"Yes, my father, I know it well," she replied, "and I am not afraid to think of it. If I fail, my death will be a glorious one, and if I succeed, I shall have done a great service to my country."
"It is of no use,"
said the Grand Vizier.
"I shall never agree. If the Sultan was to order me to plunge a dagger in your heart, I should have to obey. What a task for a father! Ah, if you do not fear death, fear at any rate the grief you would cause me."
"Once again, my father," said Scheherazade, "will you grant me what I ask?"
"What, are you still so obstinate?"
exclaimed the Grand Vizier.
"Why are you so determined to die?"
But the daughter absolutely refused to listen to her father's words, and at last, in despair, the Grand Vizier had to agree, and went sadly to the palace to tell the Sultan that the following evening he would bring him Scheherazade.